So for those of you who don't know, I've been doing this series on love. And in this series, I've obviously talked about a number of things. This is video number 6 or 7 in this series. I have lost count by now. And I actually debated on whether or not I should do this video right now at the beginning of the series or at the end of the series. But I thought that I should do it at the end of this series because it's an overall arching theme that without loving yourself, which is about what this video is about, if you don't love yourself, it's impossible to do truly love and do any of the other topics that I've talked about in this series. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. And so I wanted to give you this analogy so this is how really society and our world thinks, right? So you have two people, let's just say, two people, and they're two halves of a heart, right? They're broken people. And what society in our society, our culture does really is take those two halves and say, what do people need, right? So let's make something in society that will fill that void in people's life that they need. And so that's kind of the way that our culture and society has trained us to be and to think. And so we've taken that and put it into our relationships. And so typically in our relationships, we will find someone where there's a void in our life, where there's something missing, where all of that is taking place. We will find someone to come along and to fill that void. We'll find someone that says, I see this area that you're broken, and so I want to come along and I want to fix that because I'm also broken in these areas and you can fix that in me as well. And where that might sound, okay, well that makes sense. Two halves make a whole, right? That makes sense. But when you're talking about love, it doesn't, and it doesn't work. And I'll tell you why it doesn't work. It's because when you have those two halves, when you have those two broken people, right? When they come together and they make each other whole, they're not healing those areas that need to be healed. They're not loving themselves well. They're not loving well. They're not loving the other person well because they're not actually being selfless. They're being selfish because they're saying, whether they know it or not, they're saying, I have this void, this broken area in my life that I need healed, that I need fixed, but I'm too afraid to face it on my own. I'm too afraid to face it myself. So I'm just going to fill that void with somebody else. And that's not a selfless love. That is a selfish love. And what happens in that relationship when there's a broken part on one side and on the other side there's the same broken part? Who's going to fill that void? It doesn't work, because then that's the point where it says, well, I guess this relationship isn't working, and so I'm just going to move on. And then you start a relationship with somebody else and totally forget about them because they're not meeting your needs anymore. Well, that's not love. That's not true love. That is selfishness. And so what loving yourself does is saying, I'm seeing these parts that are broken, that need fixing, and I'm going to choose to love myself in these areas and to give myself what I need before I can give anyone else what they need. So when you are loving yourself, you are saying that I'm going to take care of myself, not just for me, but for anyone else that is living around me and that I'm in a relationship with, because I don't want to selfishly use them to gain something that's just going to fill this void. That is not actually going to fix the problem, but it's just going to fill that void until I need to fill it elsewhere. And so loving yourself is really important for a number of reasons. And I actually made one of my first vlogging videos I made about this, and it's called Every Dreamer Needs to Know Their Worth. And that was kind of a different side of this. But loving yourself on this side, when we're talking in the context of love and true love, loving yourself looks like of going after those broken areas, going after, all the things that I've talked about with loving somebody else, but doing it for yourself first. Because if you don't do it for yourself first, then you're not going to be able to love anyone. So that broken heart analogy that I was talking about, right? If you take that area, that if you're broken in this area and they're broken in this area, and then that void isn't being filled and it can't be fixed, and you just go and start another relationship, fall in love with somebody else, whatever it may be. If you decide to love yourself first and to face those fears on your own and to learn to love yourself and fill those voids on your own and by yourself, then when there is a broken area, then you have two whole people. And the two whole people, if there's a broken area here, then this whole person can say, let me partner with you, let me help you get back to wholeness. And then they're both whole again, and then there's this broken area and this broken area. And maybe there will be a time where, even though they're whole people, they're whole hearts, that there will be a time where they're both broken in the same area. But at that point, they would both know and understand how to love themselves and how to be able to fix this. So then they would be able to come together and work at it together. And so without being able to love yourself and understanding how to love yourself, then there is no sense of true love in true love. In order to show true love, to be true love, the love that we've been talking about, the love that's not a feeling, the love that is sacrificed, the love that is centered. The foundation is accountability and responsibility, and it's about the will. It takes a really strong willpower. That love, it's impossible to love someone else if you don't do all of that first for yourself.